Hello and welcome to Design or Design. My name is Maria and today we're going to be talking about the patterns or prints that were popular on the runways for fall winter 2024. I should have done the and then 2024, but you know, I'm not perfect. I'm guessing that you love prints. Like, I really want to wear more prints just because I'm a very messy person, and whenever there's a print on it, everything is not as visible. Like, for instance, like this dress. I love it. If I go out and eat something and I would get like a grease stain, like you would never know it's there. It's really easy to figure out color combinations when you have prints. So you just go to the color on the print and you're like, that is set. Or maybe if the color on the print is like really bright red, then you go to like a complementary color. Did I mention I just released a week ago the way the colors were combined on the runways? Well, if you haven't seen it, you can check it out maybe later after this. Anyways, let's get started with some prints that I've seen on the runways. Honestly, there weren't a lot. No, there weren't. Basically, if your aesthetic is more like modern, and there was very little for you. If your aesthetic is more like granny chic, maybe like romantic or like super classy, yes, we have some of those. But I think you're here just for general fashion intake, so you might as well stay if, yeah. Okay, let's get started. So first one is really classic, and like we cannot have anything without floral prints. And we do see a lot of winter floral prints, which means that they have a dark background, either black or maybe just a really dark other background, some flowers on it, basically. So we see this in many shows, and the flowers can be either very like dainty, from like smaller to mid-size range. We also have like this kind of almost a carpet floral look in Ula Johnson. We also have it on kind of like a little brown color in Miu Miu. You're saying, oh, this is not a print, this is beadwork and brooches, it's much more expensive. Yes, but usually whenever there is like beading and that, there is a more accessible line that has the prints instead of the beading and stuff. So you just enjoy the view. So we see also some very bright combinations, like we just seen the all green dress with green flowers on there. We also see like florals that are almost kind of like paintings where they're not really florals per se, but you kind of understand that it's a flower there. We see this in Dior. We also see some more muted, but more on like a sporty modern side print in Jill Sanders. Very interesting take. We also see a lot of floral prints in Burberry. So basically it was one print, kind of like having roses, but so many different color combinations and very bright ones. We also see this in Etro, more in like the granny core vibes in there. We also see Chanel having flowers. Of course, they're really famous for them, so it's very natural. We see some floral prints in Balenciaga, varying in nature, some on the winter floral, some on lighter side. We also see some very bright ones as well. We see a lot of them in Carolina Herrera, also both the winter and the summer florals. When I say summer, it's on the lighter background. That's basically the difference. Maison Margiela also had a few of kind of floral versions. Moschino had florals, but they were kind of like melted florals, and their whole line was kind of like melted clothing, and we'll see some more prints from there, which were pretty cool. We also see some more of a Barbie-esque version of in Versace and Dua Lipa collab, having very bright colors such as blue, pink, and green in there. We also see just kind of illustrations, not quite prints per se, just like a little detail here and there. In Christopher Kane, I can't say that I am a biggest fan of just like a little sticker on there, but you know, what can you do? We see some florals in Loewe having kind of like a print of a dress on a dress with a floral print. We have a lot of florals in Dress Van Noten in very interesting color combinations. Some are a little bit more muted, but very classical, I would say. We also see them kind of like made of a different texture, even a little bit on a contemporary side, some floral on floral prints as well. All right, let's move on to animal print, another organic print, I would say. We've seen a few different prints, like right now we're seeing snake print, or like there's sometimes crocodile print. Sometimes they are not only prints, they're kind of textures as well, so keep that in mind. But the snake print was relevant for sure. We've seen it in a few different shows. Here we have kind of a cheetah print as well in Roberta Cavalli. And of course, Roberta Cavalli is gonna have a lot of animal prints. Of course, with the cheetah and kind of like a zebra, but not really print. I don't know what to call this. We also see some cheetah prints in Dior, some zebra prints in Missoni. We also see kind of like I'm not even sure what print that is in Ulla Johnson, but I like it. It's like kind of on a subtle side, but still like using really bright colors as well. We also see somewhat of a cheetah print in Carolina Herrera Versace. 101 donation, but like painted donations. I have no idea how to pronounce that breed. I'm sorry. I do remember the cartoon though. And here are some Cruella inspired outfits as well. All right, we see some kind of like a tiger print in GCDS with the very bright kind of a greenish yellow color in there, as well as a grayscale. We see some more zebra print in Jill Sanders from Stella McCartney, but we know Stella McCartney is super against animal cruelty. So all of these that you're seeing are not animal created at all. And like their bags and shoes, like everything. She works a lot to create some vegan clothing for you guys. Anyways, we also see some cheetah in Michael Kors, more in like a gray style, but having one or two outfits in a warmer tone as well. All right, next one would be artsy. I could argue that it is somewhat of an organic shape just because it's like flowy and yeah. So anyways, we have some kind of like strokes maybe on the garment, like we see like gold leaves here in Dress Van Noten. We also could have something like a little specks of paint, like it's, you can't really pinpoint what it is. Maybe like an abstract painting. We have some of that in Y Project, having some dresses that have this contour effect on the body. I really like that. It's definitely going to be very good for creating curves. We see kind of a tie-dye moment, almost, I don't even know how they did it, in Victoria Beckham show. We see cartoon-ish elements in the Chloe, a very interesting dress for the collection. It stood out a lot, to be honest. We also have kind of these painting-esque murals, but like in suits and coats that are like really hard to tell that they are paintings in Roberta Cavalli, some of them more abstract than others. We also see kind of little blobs in Prada show. I can't say that these are my favorite at all. Like, I really don't like them, but you know, who am I to judge? I'm just a girl on the internet. Anyways, more of the tie-dye effects in Ulla Johnson, having like a print on print mixture in there as well. We also have, once again, those speckle effect in off-white in some of their outerwear. We also see some tie-dye in there as well. Dior having kind of like a melted animal print or floral print that's just, you can't really tell what it is. It looks like it's, as I said, it was melted. Diesel having kind of like a very messy art project on their hands. We also see some beautiful like watercolor gradients in Alcazara, going from like greens into yellows and like reds, purples. Yeah, these are gorgeous and like they're so breathtaking. I love them so much. And yeah, we have some more really weird odd ones from Diesel, having like brown with blue spots, and this color makes like a little bit sick inside. I don't know, just, is it only me? We also have some like organic shapes, but these are a little bit more on the texture format as well. So I don't know, like, is this still can be considered a print? Yeah, we have some spots here and there from Burberry, like little speckles. Ralph Simmons has a body art on the garment, like as if he made a picture of a garment on a garment, with like little hands as well. Also some kind of a graphic design there with faces and fonts. Anyways, let's move on to gradient. So as I mentioned, the gradient on my dress, we see some horizontal gradients on a bunch of dresses and items of clothing, especially in Dior, like having like a purple to green gradient with black in between. We also see that with like brown and green as well. We see a lot of it in off-white, of having a like a warmer ones going from like brown, orange, green to yellow, which is interesting gradient because it does not work like that in a rainbow, to be honest. And some like brown to gray gradients in Lorenzo Schuler. Let's move on to more of a classical print, polka dots. We see a lot of them on the Versace collaboration with Dua Lipa, having like little butterflies incorporated into that polka dot feel, with many different designs, both for men and women, but mostly like black with colorful butterflies, but the background was always black. We also see this in Valentino, having this really cool oversized polka dot jacket blazer thing. This is rock, and I believe these are cherries, so I'm not sure. I just put them here for no reason, I guess. Anyways, Lanvin had some polka dots, but kind of like in a different material, so it kind of just shone there. We also had some much smaller polka dots, or maybe sometimes they were like little pearls or buttons that were sewn on, so it's more like a 3D thing, but really still reminded of the polka dots. We also see some cutouts like in Gucci, but in a circular formation. Off-White also had kind of little snaps or buttons on there, as if they're like little polka dots as well, maybe some cutouts. We also see Balmain having pearls all over, symbolizing polka dots, or maybe something shiny. These are much more expensive items. Like whenever you need to sew something on, it's much more expensive than to just print a material that will have this. So more accessible garments would be prints of these, while the ones with all those buttons and pearls would be much more expensive. We have some very tiny polka dots in Miu Miu, and quite a lot of them in there. I think it was the only print in Miu Miu, so yeah, very chill, nothing special. And like for prints, the smaller you go, the more classy it looks usually. So this very tiny little polka dot is for sure something that would be a part of a very classical wardrobe. And we see a lot of very tiny polka dots in philosophy as well. All right, let's move on to stripes. So as I mentioned, the tiny polka dots, we also see like tiny pinstripes, and they are more associated with the more classy business-like clothing. So we see in Valentino more like a sparkly pinstripe. We also see a thicker ones as well. Don't get me wrong. There are plenty of both, but they kind of look a little bit more sporty, a little bit more like current and up and chic maybe, while the pinstripe is definitely like a classic thing that will stand the test of time for sure. We also see it in Chloe. Stripes can be varying colors. We see more of the business suit with pinstripes in Stella McCartney. Roberta Cavalli having more like organic stripes on the garments that we already kind of seen. We also see the stripes in Jean-Paul Gaultier. A lot of pattern clashing and like patterns on patterns, but like using stripes a lot, sometimes in more of an ethnic way, and then sometimes more in like a business kind of way with the pinstripes. We also see a couple of garments where the stripes were basically made out of ribbons and they kind of like go off of the garment and drag along the ground, which is really cool. Not very wearable in the everyday life, but still cool. We also have this huge, beautiful dress with the stripes in the show as well. Something more wearable, something a little bit more sporty. J.W. Anderson giving us a hoodie. Is it groundbreaking? No, but wearing nothing on the bottom is, I guess. We also see more of bigger stripes in Proenza Schooler as well as in Coach, having a lot of knits being stripy. We also see kind of a Freddy Krueger sweater from Raf Simons. Jacquemus having stripes on stripes. Chanel having stripes. Etro having stripes, but more on like the muted way, as well as some more colorful ways as well. I forgot, sorry guys. A lot of like little blanket scarves with stripes in very interesting color combinations. We also see stripes, of course, in Tom Brown. Carolina Herrera having a few dresses with a much thicker stripe. Horizontal stripes do create more volume. Think of where you want it to be. Like for instance, this Carolina Herrera, like they have a horizontal stripe on the top, but then vertical on the bottom. So this would be perfect for a pear shape. So the top would be looking wider than the bottom to even it out. Next one up are zigzags. So we have a few of those zigzags, like in Carolina Herrera. We also have some in Missoni, a lot of them in Missoni. Some are like in faux fur, some are in just the garments, just like a little print. A lot of faux fur moments, that's for sure. And basically those were the only two shows that had zigzag, but there was a lot of it in Missoni, so I'm just gonna continue showing it. Okay, fine, there is some zigzagginess in Eula Johnson, but it was kind of like to make a print, so I don't really count that to be that. Anyways, so if you're enjoying this content so far, please consider to like this video, maybe leave me a nice little comment down below, and subscribe if you're not already. If you don't know or you cannot subscribe because you're like not signed in or something, I think you can still share it, so you can at least do that, right? Thank you. Next one, a logical one to do, is when lines intersect and we get plaid. There's a bunch of other ways of saying plaid, but I'm just choosing all of them and putting them in here. Okay. So we have very tiny ones, we have some bigger ones, we have some even bigger ones. But basically, they're there. It is a very classical print that, like, you cannot go wrong with it, honestly. We see some brighter versions of it in Anna Sui shows, like in green and pink. We also see this in more muted and down-to-earth colors in Stella McCartney, like in beige and brown here, like in gray and black here. We also see very tiny plaid in Yves Saint Laurent. We see more of a kind of like a flannel plaid in Maison Margiela. Yeah, very interesting looks. Jill Sanders also having a very interesting outfit. J.W. Anderson also. D Squared with more flannel moments and interesting styling. Very cowboy-esque for sure. Ooh, I'm watching the Yellowstone now. I've heard a lot of good things and I'm watching it and I do like it. Yeah. Is there anybody else who's watching it? Let me know down in the comments below. We see Burberry with a lot of this. So well, of course, Burberry, this is their bread and butter, but they're mixing it up and creating something new. For instance, this purple and green, there is some, I think, red and blue combinations as well. So really, really cool take on it. And yeah, kudos to you. I really like it. Anyways, Yves Saint Laurent having some very classical moments again with more of like a green and blue and yellow and green, very like classic colors of plaid in there. We also see Chanel with kind of a pin plaid, very thin lines. We also see a lot of scarf blankets from Etro having a plaid pattern on them with very interesting color combinations. Maison Margiela had a lot of plaid, as I mentioned before, but like this time you can see just how wide the range is, like from super crazy big to very tiny and neutral almost. We also see plaid being much more subtle, like in grays and purples, like in Missoni, maybe having like a pop of yellow in there, and some argyle prints. Is this checkered print? Is this harlequin check? I don't know, but we have it here. Valentino having quite a big size with some feathers even. We also have this in Chloe in just one outfit though, so not super terribly popular, but it was there. So we have some shepherd's check here in Anna Sui, kind of resembling a little bit, like very close to houndtooth, but not really. This section is about the houndtooth, so I guess that's why I added it here. Just Moschino had a few of these very classical houndtooth things, but it was recreated to be like a melted version of it. So the pattern itself would melt towards the bottom of the garment. I really like it. It's very cool. And I feel like it would be a very interesting item to have. And of course, Moschino also had just an average looking houndtooth as well with this oversized blazer. But I really like the meltiness of it, and like it might also fool the eye to make different. But let's move on to Burberry having like little ducks there. Is this because of the hunting? I don't know. Like, see, yeah, this is for sure a duck. We see a lot of horses in Stella McCartney show, either kind of like little ones like polka dots, but on a bigger scale, or just like a big head of a horse, or just like the entire horse itself in a sweater format. We also see maybe like a picture of cherries. Jill Sanders, we have these cherries in a few outfits, maybe oversized candy print on one of them as well. Little bunnies on underwear in J.W. Anderson. Very strange, very strange. And also little mice. We have some like lip prints in rock. I quite like this. I do. Yes, I like it. We also have some fish in Givenchy. I'm not really sure the correlation. If anybody knows, let me know down below why there are fish there. Okay, this one I love. Off-white, having little people drawn on this leather suit, and it looks like they're like walking with the shadows and everything. I love it. We also see some moons in their different state, like a full moon or a crescent moon. We see a lot of butterflies. We also seen them, remember, with the polka dots in Versace, but here we have just them on their own in Christopher Kane. We also see in Christopher Kane a lot of other prints, which are very strange and unique. I do love them. So this one has little chicks, and they're so cute and yellow. Okay, and here we have little piglets. I'm almost crying. That's how cute everything is. These are rats. I'm not as fond of rats as I am of chicks and piglets, but there's probably somebody out there who likes it. Louis Vuitton, having little bicycles. Or are these bicycle at all? Or maybe they're musical instruments. I have absolutely no idea anymore. The more I look at it, the more confused I get. All right, next one, I'm gonna call this a scan. So we see some kind of either a picture of the garment itself, or maybe like the material was scanned and printed on top with like much more texture than the actual garment. We see a lot of it in Y Project. There was plenty of it in their past spring summer collection with having like outfits printed on outfits, but this is more like texture printed on the outfits themselves. We also see this in Loewe having two cardigans with like a printed cardigan on it. We also see a bunch of dresses like this, and you can definitely tell that it's like a printed dress on a white dress, which is still pretty interesting. I quite like it. It's like a little joke, and sometimes like the printer almost ran out of color, so it's like really weird and not in focus at all. We also have kind of like a trench coat on a dress as well here, and more of like a body. That might be very flattering, having like a little bit of a sculpting effect. Okay, another one, more like a body printed on it than anything else. And there's some like scandalous and sexual imagery that I don't know, I was not super comfortable seeing that on the runways, yet alone to see it on their everyday life. Yeah, you would get a lot of looks. Anyways, J.W. Anderson also had some men bodies on the shirts, and having kind of like the head to be where the head would exit, so it kind of looked like the guys were those guys with just a really crazy big head. We also had some very smiley, almost like a vampire smiles from Diesel, just having the entire smile on a garment. I think it would go out of style very soon and it would be thought of, oh yes, it's Diesel to 2024, just because it's so bright and out there. It's definitely more for the younger crowd from like the Y2K trend continuing. Anyways, we kind of like covered all the prints that were there, but let's take a look at how the prints were mixed together in outfits. Like in Thom Browne, we have some kind of a floral print with some plaid, very interesting color and print mixing. We also see like a pinstripe with a floral. I feel like pinstripes are very easy to combine with anything just because they're so neutral. We also see some florals with plaid. Yeah, it's a good choice to go with contrasting prints, something organic with something like linear and inorganic. Here we have Jean-Paul Gaultier with kind of the outfit itself being collected from like so many different patterns, so it's a like pattern clash all together, like a mosaic of it. We also see some of these in Roberta Cavalli, having like a mosaic. Louis Vuitton had like 3 different prints all together. Interesting combination. Ulla Johnson had very cool print mixing, like very natural, but they were very boho. We also see some print mixing in Burberry, and Yves Saint Laurent also having very tiny polka dot with a pinstripe. I feel like it's such a beautiful, effortless combination that is just, you can't go wrong. In Missoni, kind of a zebra with a polka dot and a stripe. The floral with the plaid combination in Maison Margiela. Interesting combo in Anna Sui, kind of a pink camouflage, more camo with some other ones. Animal print with some other prints. All right, you guys, here we are. Did you see your favorite print? I tend to gravitate towards the artsy print myself, as you can see. I find it really difficult to find something that I really like. And often whenever I wear prints, I don't feel like myself. So whenever I do find a print that I love, it is fire. Just because, as I mentioned, I'm a messy person and I need prints to hide the messiness. Like prints can hide not only like stains and such, they can also hide like underwear lines, bra lines, like tummies. Yeah, here we go. You don't see it. It's not there anymore. Don't underestimate a print. But as you can see, there was more like boho, granny chic vibes that were predominantly there for like florals. If you went into more like classical, there would be like little polka dots or pinstripes, maybe some bigger stripes in like Valentino. I really liked it. Other than that, for like minimalism and like modern style, I did not see much. But you might like to mix different styles together. I do like to do that. So if you enjoyed this video, please consider to like this video. Maybe give me a nice little comment down below. And if you're not already, please subscribe. I'm trying to grow, and this season will determine if I continue or not. I'm being honest with you guys. I spend way too much time on these videos, and I need to see if this is gonna go somewhere or if I should concentrate on finishing school and getting a job. But anyways, that went dark very fast. If you want to see what I wear from day to day, I encourage you to check out my Instagram. Here's what you might see on it. Here's my name on it. MM is for Maria, and then some magical Maria. Yes. And design is for design. And Victoria, BC is where I live. Don't stalk me, please. You can stalk me online all you want. Let's wrap this video up. I hope you guys have an amazing rest of the day. I hope this video helped you in some kind of way. And yeah, stay classy. Bye.